Alright, so we're gonna check out Monster Wilds. We're doing a bug testing real quick.
I did have a game crashing bug that happened in the tutorial. I am going to see if I can make it back through without that being replicated. I had to shut down the game externally.
We were checking out the tutorial, and not too much. I played an older version of this for last assignment, and it had a lot more bugs, so they've cleared out quite a bit. But I think we're coming up on the first one now. Yeah, so it says we've leveled up, which does show up in the top right, which that's cool. But as you can see, after I hit the pause, that completely disappeared randomly. And then also in this screen, I'm just highlighting right there that it doesn't show level 2, it just shows level 1 still, which is obviously not cool. And then that popped up in the tutorial, and for something broke here, and I couldn't exit out of this menu at all. And something I pressed somehow gave me 99999 monster meat. I don't know what I did. But I could not escape from this menu. I mean, I could hear myself jumping when I hit spacebar, but no other button was working whatsoever. So I had to exit out.
In the menu, when messing around with the options button, I was having quite a bit of issue moving the sliders around, and I figured out eventually what it is that where you click on the bar is where the icon moves, but what I was trying to do is like grab the pink box itself to kind of slide it around. But since the actual trigger for the options is the bar itself, like right there, clicking on that left side of the box made it so you couldn't move it.
I am not certain why you decided O would be the button to press for inventory. I'm not certain why you chose that. Usually it's I or another button close to WASD because of just for ease of use.
Looks like the tutorial guy kind of spawns pretty quickly from the right. Maybe cosmetic?
A consistent bug between all of us was when we were playing the game, anytime we open a menu, and like right here, and when we exit out of it, the camera gets locked, like it is right here. Right now, I'd be scrolling up my mouse, and I can't look up. Once I look back down and look back up, you notice I can now look up again. But for a moment, when you go into the menu and you come back in, I think I recreate it here. It gets locked. Like right now, can't look up. You just scroll, look back down, look back up, and it resets itself. So it's not permanent, but it is something that it happens every time when we open the menu. So it's a definite, consistent, small bug, but one that was consistent for all our playthroughs.
Let's skip through that. Cool. It's got it in my inventory. Picked up the monster meat. It only shows one monster meat on the ground, but I got 3. But I don't know if that's just like a style choice or not. But whatever. I equipped the high jump. Still shows me as level 1, even though I'm not. But yeah, that is something I only noticed in the tutorial. Another thing I noticed actually while I was doing this is in the battle in the tutorial, it shows 3 big circles along the bottom: attack, horn, and run. But in the actual game, there's like a quad of circles of the attacks, and then there's a small one for horn and a small one for run. I don't know if that was intended or not, but that was just something weird I noticed.
One thing that we thought was worth bringing up is that the game never teaches you or tells you that when you run away from a battle that it will take away some of the monster meat, and some of us thought might be worth mentioning somewhere in the game to let the player know that if they leave the battle, if they try to escape, that they'll lose some of their meat they've collected. Another thing of note is that when escaping a fight, if you have 0 monster meat, you can still escape, and a pop-up will show up saying you've lost 2 meat, you've lost 3 meat, whatever it is, even if you have 0 in your inventory. So that was another bug we encountered. Adding something like much like a simple check to make sure you have enough monster meat to even attempt to escape.
Which is good. Whoa. I guess I somehow unlocked all of the abilities. Alright. But yeah. Apparently that's a bug that I have no idea how that happened. Before my other playthrough, this never happened. Oh, and it's locked lore for all of them too. Alright.
Two cards came down at once, so that might be a cosmetic issue. It seemed like the only one I needed was the defeat. From the escape menu, the options button does not seem to work. Try again. Saved works. Main menu works. Options does not work currently.
The options menu. I mean, in the pause menu, the options button does not work. The save button works. The options does not.
So it didn't pop up a message that said that I got the ability. So normally there isn't a way for me to tell that I unlocked the ability.
Here's a general bug or cosmetic or general bug for the camera. When you go underneath the player, you can see some of the aspects of the models, like their eye and their horn, just kind of floating in space. So the camera potentially shouldn't go directly under the player to avoid that issue. The player is able to walk directly through the interactable guy here, so might need a collider.
I do like the changing of his form based on what ability you equip. That is very nice. I like that a lot. Giving a visual representation to changes that you make helps the player see that they have an impact.
And then I had a really bad, like, severe game-breaking bug again. This one I've gotten to replicate every time that I've done it. So I was just fighting here because I want to die, because the losing screen is how I got this bug to work. So as you can see here, I just died, and that my attacks were still there, and now my the compass at the top is still there, everything's still there, and I can still open this menu, and as you saw there, it said invisible until active or something like that when I hovered over it, which I don't think is intended. But I can click in this menu, I can do all sorts of stuff in this menu, which I'm dead, so I shouldn't be able to. And this is also, it doesn't reflect my stats in the game, because like I had the abilities unlocked. And then once I close out of here, it has this screen, which absolutely no buttons work, even the spacebar doesn't work, like nothing works at all, and I have to force quit the game externally.
In the lore section of the menu, clicking on the different monsters never changed the appearance picture on the left side of the page. This was consistent with every monster, not just the Ticken here. So it might be something that needs to be fixed. It only shows the player character. Everything else in the lore, at least for me, the lore page worked, but just the appearance picture never loaded for me throughout the game. I'm unsure if this is a bug for the game, but I noticed this time around that after finishing a battle, your HP, your MP, it would always refill completely after battle. It didn't do that in an earlier build, and so I wasn't sure if this was meant to happen or if it was a bug, but I figured it was worth mentioning anyway in case it wasn't something that was meant to happen. Another camera bug that, similar to the menu one that occurred, was after battles, the camera for the player doesn't move around. So right here, I leave the battle, and along with the mouse being on screen, right now I'm moving my mouse around, but the player camera doesn't move. Once you click on the screen, right about here, then you can move the camera around. So it's not permanent, again, kind of like the menu one, but again, it still occurs after every battle that you gotta click on the screen for the camera to be able to move around. While playing the game, I noticed that the camera it locks at a certain point, like in a rotation. Right here, I'd be swiping right, and I can't turn right. If go the other way, I couldn't turn left there. I go for an aerial view for a better view of it right here, and you kind of see as I'm rotating with it right there, it stopped, and right there the camera would stop. So there's kind of like this lock, like you couldn't look all the way left and right. And its orientation is kind of odd at first. Like I kind of thought maybe it's you can't look directly behind you kind of thing, but it's not really consistent on like its orientation. So I believe it is a bug with the camera locking up, looking left and right. I'm not sure if it's consistent throughout every part of the game or if something I did triggered it, but it does occur at times. At the end of this battle right here, you notice right here I kill the enemy, but you'll notice right there it's still attacked after, at least from what the text prompts were saying. I had done my turn first, it was defeated, and so it could be that the scripting in that battle is out of order, where when the enemy was defeated, it still managed to get one attack off before it deloaded the scene. A bug I encountered about at this part of the game that I noticed was during battles, what would start to happen, as it's shown here, is that the turn for myself would start to double up. So right here, as I'm choosing enemy to attack, the option to select another move is still there on the right. At first, I thought it was one of the abilities I got that was causing it, but after testing it some more, what I found is that if the player is doing the battle really fast, if they're rushing through it, just moving at a quick pace, that's when this bug occurs, is when you're rushing through battle. It doesn't come from a specific ability, it doesn't come from a specific attack, it's just if you're moving very fast, this bug occurs. When messing around with the abilities here, I noticed that every creature that was past the owl boss, for me, anytime I added their abilities to the character, it didn't visually change my character like many of the other abilities do. I noticed in some people's playthroughs it did change, so this happened to me, but it seemed like it didn't happen in other people's playthroughs of this, so I'm not sure if it was an older build of the file, something with the computer I was running, but for me at least, I didn't have any changes to the character with certain abilities. Right around here in the caves of this part of the map, there were some very odd hitboxes left around where I was colliding into air and objects I couldn't see, and it was just like an invisible area to stand on, I guess. It happened several times. I'm letting the footage run throughout this area. Over the lake it occurs. In the entrance to this area it happened. But it was a pretty major hitbox collision error or bugs that I was encountering in that area.
Another thing that I have a problem with, that I feel that should be addressed, is the damage variables. The damage variables for the monsters have such a wide range that, like, if you get unlucky, you're just gonna, like, die with some creatures. And which, that gets rid of more of the, how to say, skill-based aspect of the game, and it becomes more luck-based. But if you are forced to fight many enemies to level, then that makes it more likely to happen. Like, I can go against these guys, and I've had one of them one-shot me to death.
After you battle an enemy for a few frames or seconds after, your character isn't able to get into battle anymore. I assume that's like an invincibility frames, a little leeway for the player so they don't get immediately attacked after finishing a battle. But some kind of visualizer, like the player flashing, would be a nice thing to add, as some people who played got a little confused by that mechanic.
So I was talking to these guys. It doesn't say anything about jumping over the rocks, or that the rocks are the way that you're supposed to go once you have the high jump.